I did my African shoes project on Merneith, who was a queen erased. She was the mother of Djet, who was an Egyptian pharaoh, and she served as a regent in Egypt instead of as a pharaoh because she was a woman. But she had a lot of the power a pharaoh had. She had the authority to make these decisions and to change things, and which she did. She was very wise with what she did. She paved the way for a lot of people in Egypt and for especially her son to come into power after her. She was also given a proper pharaoh burial, and she even changed the way that the burials were done. So, for example, instead of taking every single person underneath her power with her, like servant-wise, she changed it where it was only specific people. That is why, for example, here, Ari Ahaya, which is also shown here in hieroglyphics, you can see, like the eye and the bird, which I think is a hawk, and other symbols. And it says, I make my journey, which is very significant because she, like I said, paved the way for a lot of Egyptian people, especially during her time being a woman and being in power, not being seen completely as a pharaoh, but having that authority. She was very purposeful with what she did, and she was extremely important. On the shoe, we can see how her being a queen erased, there are stitches, and so I put those there to represent how we need to bond together all these cultures and beautiful parts of African history and not cover it up. We need to incorporate it into our culture and appreciate everything that's happened and bring to light things that were covered up, like Merneith. She deserves all the credit that the pharaohs were given because she was impactful and very important. And so that's why all these colors back here represent who she was, because she was not just a woman who was in power. She was her own person with her own family and everything. She absolutely deserves the credit that was not given to her. Along here on the side of the shoe, you can, other than the majority of the colors, you can see how I added black and gold, which the gold represents, the royalty and how beautiful it was. But I just thought that adding that to the shoe would make it pop in a way that Merneith should have. She absolutely should have been appreciated, and she was not, and that gold shows her regency and how beautiful and special she is as a person. Here we can see also the scarab, which I just thought was a good touch to the shoe. It is, typically seen in royalty, especially with all of the colors, which were not widely available to some people. Down here, we actually see 3 symbols. The first one is, it's her name, but in hieroglyphics, breaking it down, the first is the plow, which means beloved of. And she was a very beloved person. People loved Merneith, and she was a great ruler. She made many discoveries and was very, very progressive. Neith, which is that second symbol you see, it is kind of like more like an oval. It symbolizes how she was seen as a goddess, and it also symbolizes her connection to that and the Egyptian people's connection to the gods and what they believed in. And then the mouth, which is the phonetic complement of mer, and it reinforces the plow. So it's basically saying she was incredibly loved and incredibly admired. Another addition to the shoe, I also added the eye of truth, which is the left eye. It is seen as the feminine eye, and it represents healing and protection. She healed a majority of this country with a lot of the things she did, and she wanted to protect her people. And that is very important for a ruler, and that's why I chose her, is because she was a very important woman. Here, also behind the check, we can see the Ankh, which is, it's an Egyptian symbol for peace and eternal life. So that was very important to her. And along with the eternal life thing, her going into the afterlife, she wanted to secure the future. And so that's why she wouldn't take all the servants with her. And then finally, I wanted to say this ancient Egyptian proverb, which I thought would have aligned well with her values and what she would want to leave Egypt as. It says, by living a life based on wisdom and truth, one can discover the divinity of the soul, its union to the universe, the supreme peace and contentment which comes from satisfying the time's drive for one's self-discovery.